Hey everybody, what's going on? Clint here. I got a chance to go see Warcraft a little earlier, and guys, here's the thing. People are dropping like the Battlefield Earth bomb about this movie in some of the early reviews. Nobody really likes the look of it. Nobody really likes the casting. There's all of this bad juju going around about this movie. I literally couldn't even find somebody around the office to come see it with me. But I went to go see it last night, and honestly, this movie is 100% worth your time. Go see this movie. Now, I say it's 100% worth your time, but I'm not necessarily saying it's a good movie. Now, this movie, I wouldn't argue with the sentiment that this movie is kind of a mess. I wouldn't argue with the sentiment that the actors aren't really that good, that the characters aren't really that engaging. I wouldn't argue with that really at all. There's a lot going on in this movie. A lot of ideas don't get explored, not even halfway explored, let alone fully explored. There's a lot going on in this movie. It is a busy movie, a world-building movie, a movie that's more concerned with, you know, what are the names of the kingdoms of Azeroth than it is about the story that these characters themselves are going through. And that being said, I've been very hard on a lot of movies for exactly that problem. Movies that are more concerned with setting up something down the road than they are with telling their own story. There's something about Warcraft that I don't mind it. Story follows the orcs who, on their world, they've started to follow a really bad dude who's using some really dark magic, and he opens a portal to the human world of Azeroth, and then the whole horde comes through and starts wrecking shop in the human world, and then it becomes a battle between these two sides. You know, one, the orcs trying to find a new home, and the humans trying to defend their own. There's good and bad on both sides. Which also sort of makes the movie a little tricky in terms of, like, you don't really know who the main hero is because there's like half a dozen heroes, and you don't really know who the main villain is because there's like half a dozen villains. Like I said, there's a lot going on. But here's why it is 100% worth watching. For one, the simple fact that the visuals, I know a lot of people didn't like the look of the trailers. The visuals are actually, in context of the movie, incredible. The main orc character, played by Toby Kebbell, is some of the most amazing motion capture, the most amazing facial capture, performance capture, whatever you want to call it, that has been done to date. It is incredible. That character is the most engaging character in the entire movie, and he is a giant with a tiny head and huge hands, and he looks ridiculous on a lot of levels, but he is the most empathetic character in the entire movie. The movie also doesn't spend a lot of time beating you over the head with exposition. There's plenty of exposition. There's a lot of, like, have to go to Goldwind and have to go to this other fantasy word that I honestly can't remember. Think about the Thor movies, which are fine, not great, but they're good, they're fine. And then there are worse movies, the I, Frankensteins of the world, that spend the first 15 minutes of the movie doing voiceover narration, saying, here's everything you need to know to watch this movie. I'm going to explain some weird, fantastic element to you, and now that you have this knowledge, you can go watch the rest of this movie. This movie and Duncan Jones, they don't do that. They just throw you into this world, a world that is very richly textured and very well earned, very well explained. They just throw you into it so that you can pick it up as you go along. Which is a much more engaging way to watch a movie. So the movie builds an amazing world. It really does. The characters, the story itself, whatever. But the world that is built is very rich and is very well made, and there's enough charm to it. There are some jokes that don't entirely land, but it's light enough to where when the movie was over, I stood up and I was like, yeah. Let's do 2 or 3 more of these. Now, this movie is just pure fantasy. There's no grounded elements to this movie. The way that you had Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones, there's nothing in them that feels real. It's straight up fantasy. And admittedly, I've never played the game. Nobody's even explained to me what the game is like. I know some people who have played the game, but I've never had a single conversation about it, so I don't know anything about the world that this is based on. But just as a movie, it takes all of these fantasy elements and it builds them up into a thing that makes sense. And the ideas that Duncan Jones deals with along the way, they're in there, and they're interesting ideas. It's just that there are so many of them. And honestly, we talk on this channel a lot about swings and misses. I'd rather see a swing and a miss than something down the middle. This is like a swing and a foul ball. It's a good world. It really is. And the movie itself, it's 2 hours long. For about an hour and a half, it was a pretty standard, straight-ahead narrative. And then as it starts to get into Act 3, it starts to veer off and become more about the next 2 or 3 movies, setting up where we're going to go after this movie. But for a long time, it was one cohesive movie. There's a lot of stuff that works about it. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't work about it. So it might not be a good movie, I don't know that it is. But it's a good world, and it's a good start. And honestly, I can't wait for the next couple of movies. It's doing well enough in China that we're going to get 2 or 3 or 4 or God knows how many of these movies more. And honestly, totally cool with it. All right, guys, so that's what I thought about Warcraft. If you're excited about it, if you're overseas and you've seen it already, let me know what you thought about it down in the comments below. In the meantime, click like, subscribe, stick around Cinefix for more movie news right here on Cinefix Now. Now I have to say something clever and witty to put over the top of me putting the thing on the board. Done.